it's Miss Parsons again, coming to you today from my kitchen. I wanted to show you a creative way that you could do the square on your bingo chart that says to create your own rhythm on paper. If you're in kindergarten, you don't have that square. Yours says make a steady beat, and I'll show you how to do that when we get there in a second. To do this activity with me today, you're going to need some things from around your house to give you inspiration with words. This is my cat, Alice. She's not my inspiration. She's just curious and wanted to see what was going on. You're going to need some things from around your house that have different numbers of syllables. Remember, syllables are the numbers of sounds that a word makes. You can check by seeing how many times your chin touches your hand. You will also need a pencil and a piece of paper. Any kind of paper will do. So go ahead and go grab those supplies and come back when you're ready. If you're doing this activity with me, pause the video here to go get your supplies. You will need a pencil and paper and objects from around your house to inspire your rhythm. If you're in kindergarten, you are looking for items that have one syllable in their name to match the note ta. If you're in 1st through 5th grade, your rhythm will be more interesting with a variety of syllable numbers, so find some that have 1 syllable, 2 syllables, and if you're in 4th or 5th grade, look for some things that have 4 syllables in their name. Okay, so I have my supplies ready. I chose food as my inspiration because I love food. The foods that I chose to use, I've got some salt, I've got pepper, oatmeal, peanut butter, and bread. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to think about how many sounds those words have. If I think of something like salt or bread, salt, bread, those both have 1 syllable, which would mean that I would clap 1 time. So salt or bread. Okay, everybody should know what kind of note has 1 sound. Takes up 1 beat and has 1 sound. Ta. Okay, so those would represent the note ta. The next one that I have is pepper and oatmeal. Pepper, oatmeal. How many syllables do those have? They both have 2. Pepper, oatmeal. Pepper, oatmeal. Now, most of you know a note that takes up 1 beat and makes 2 sounds. Do you remember the name of that note? Tate. Tate has 2 sounds, okay? So now we have ta and we have tate. Now there's another one here. I have peanut butter. Now this one, you could say it slow, like oatmeal. I could do peanut butter. But if you are in 4th or 5th grade, you could say it faster, and it could be peanut butter, and it would have 4 sounds. Peanut butter. It all depends on how you lay it out. So the way that we're going to get to work on this is you have your inspirations and you have your paper. What I need you to do is take your pencil on your paper and draw 1 big square on your paper and divide it into 4 rows and 4 columns, which would leave you with 16 little squares. And it should look something like this. There you go. Inside those squares, what you're going to do is take your inspiration words and write them down inside the squares. So I might start, I think I'm going to make a pattern in my first row, and I'm going to use salt and pepper. So I might write in my squares salt, pepper, salt, pepper. You don't have to do what I do. You could use any words that you want, but you're going to fill each square with a word. You could also leave a square empty, and I'll show you what to do if you leave a square empty, because mine is going to look like this. So as you can see, I have made my pattern. I did salt, pepper, salt, pepper. I put oatmeal and I left an empty square. If you leave an empty square, that means there's not going to be any music notes in that square. There's not going to be any sound. Do you remember what it's called if something doesn't make any sound in music? It's called a rest. And we show our quarter rests by doing this. If you want to write a quarter rest, I will put one on the screen here for you, but if you're drawing it, you're going to draw a letter Z connected to a C, and it looks like this. Z and C. Trace it with me in the air, please. We're going to do a Z and then a C. Okay, so I'm done in the kitchen because I have already decided what my pattern is going to be. I filled up all my squares. I left 2 of them empty for rests, and now I'm going to go sit down with my pencil and decide what music notes match the words that I chose.
Pause the video here to make sure that all of your squares are filled in using the 1, 2, or 4 syllable words that you chose. Remember, you can leave some blank for rests, but make sure that you don't overfill your squares. You probably should only have 1 word in each square. Don't worry about writing in the notes just yet. I'll explain how to do that in a moment.
So now I have a paper that looks like this. It's a bunch of squares, and inside each square there's food written. Now the foods that are written should match the music notes that you know. So if you're in kindergarten, you know ta. That has 1 sound. Each word inside the square should have 1 sound so that you can match it with ta. If you were in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th grade, you could fit 2 sounds into 1 square using tate. So you could have some words that have 2 syllables. If you are in 4th or 5th grade, you know a note that has 4 sounds. Tika tika or taka taka, depending on how I taught it to you. That means that you could have a word or a couple of words in 1 square that have 4 sounds. Now, some of your squares might be empty, and remember, that's okay because we're going to fill those with rests. So I'm going to start with my first row. You can see that my first row says salt, pepper, salt, pepper. Salt has 1 syllable, so above salt, I'm going to draw a quarter note or a ta. Pepper has 2 syllables, pepper. So I'm going to write a tate above each time pepper appears on my paper. Now I'm just going to go through and make sure that the rest of my words have the right music note above. So starting in the next row, I have oatmeal. Oatmeal has 2 syllables. So I'm going to draw a tate above oatmeal. The next square is empty. I won't clap anything, and I'm going to draw a rest, which again is a Z plus a C. The next 2 squares say maple syrup, but it's 2 squares, so I can draw a tate above maple and a tate above syrup. The only one that I have on here that has 4 sounds is peanut butter, and that's because I fit both of those words inside the same square. So there are 4 syllables inside 1 square. Again, if you don't know this note, don't use it. That's okay. But I know it, so I used it, and it says peanut butter, and it's going to look like this. My last line is another pattern. I used the same pattern that I used at the beginning because I thought that it made it sound more finished. I always like to end my compositions on rest because it makes it sound more final. So I left my last square empty. You could do that too, or you could fill it up. It's completely up to you.
Alright, composers, it's time to pause so that you can fill in your music notes. Here's a screen for you to use as a reference while you're drawing your notes. Remember, the best way to draw that quarter rest is to do a letter Z connected to the letter C. I also have some tips and tricks for you while you are finishing up your composition. Remember that each square on your paper represents 1 musical beat. That means that you can only fit 1 music note into each square. The note that you choose to put inside the square depends on the word that you wrote and how many syllables are in that word. If you're having a hard time remembering the number of sounds a note makes, remember, you can always count the number of colored in circles because that shows you how many sounds that note makes. When you finished filling in your notes, come on back to the video and I'll show you what my finished composition looks and sounds like.
So now my finished composition looks like this. And I'm going to clap and say the whole thing for you. It goes like this. Salt, pepper, oatmeal, maple syrup, bread, peanut butter bread, peanut butter, salt, pepper, salt. And that's my whole composition. If you want to take it up a notch, go ahead and grab that instrument that you made last week and see if you can play it on your instrument. I'm going to go find mine and I'll be right back. Okay, so I decided that I wanted to use two different kinds of sounds for my composition. I have my rice shaker here, which is a container that's full of some rice, and I have my metal mixing bowl with a chopstick to tap it with. Sometimes I'm going to use both sounds at the same time, and then other times I'm going to use one at a time. So here's my composition using my homemade instruments. Salt, pepper, oatmeal, maple syrup, bread, peanut butter, salt, pepper, salt. And that's my composition on my homemade instruments. I hope that you enjoyed following this video. I hope that you enjoyed composing and creating your own instruments. I would love to see what you make, so please, 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 if you can, send me a picture of your composition or a video of you clapping or playing it. I would love to see. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. I miss you. I hope you're staying healthy, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.